Okay, so let's have a think about graphs. It's a great feature. It's a good thing to be able to present your work in a way that is much easier for people to understand. This is great. I mean, we can see what's going on here. We've got the dates, food, petrol, but it's not quite as easy at a glance to see what's going on. We've still got to kind of figure out what's happening and what does it mean, all this stuff in these tables. Now we can add some sorts and some filters and things to this, but it's probably better if we presented it in a way that was a bit more user friendly. So fortunately for us, on the insert ribbon at the top, Excel has a load of charts here that we can use. So we need to think first of all about how charts work. Text and numbers, that's what you want in your chart. So these headings across the top, these are useful for the software to be able to figure out what it is it wants to be displaying in the chart. And then we need something numerical, otherwise it can't count the numbers and put them into some kind of representation. So if I was to take all of this and highlight it with this white cross like we did before, I could then choose insert and I can pick one of these different charts. So if I go, for example, for a 2D pie chart, so you can see what's happening here is it's not displaying everything. Okay, it's only showing me the dates and it's only showing me food. And that's because pie charts aren't designed to display this kind of information in this format. So the first lesson is pick the right chart for the job. Okay, so what we want really is something that's a bit more, maybe a column chart or a bar chart. So if I go for a column, straight away you can see this is a little bit better. It's making a little bit more sense. But because of the way we laid out this chart here, we can see it's putting in all these extra dates because it knows, that's a week. So it's putting in the days that we missed. We don't really want that. So all we need to do, if it's doing strange things like this, we just need to switch the row and column data and spin it around. Okay, so this looks a little bit better. This makes a little bit more sense now. So we can see from this, now we've flipped it around and things are on the other axes. You can see the money going up the side. I can see each of the weeks now and the expenditures, and I've also got the totals in as well. So it's a little bit better, but there are still a few things about this chart that really aren't the best, but this is what these tools on the side are for. Now across the top, you can see we can just quickly change the colors if we don't like what we're getting here. Or using this downwards arrow, we've got a whole load of different options here. So if you want to pick a slightly different chart, because maybe we like the dark theme, for example, we can just choose that from this list at the top. Now the chart title, well, that's not very good. I mean, it doesn't really explain what's going on in here, so it's not great. So we need to change this to something that makes a bit more sense to make what the graph is displaying make sense. Okay, so what is this? It's money spent in April 2022. Right, so straight away, whoever's looking at this graph knows immediately, oh, I know what this graph's about. There's a very descriptive, useful title on the top of it. Now, when we click the chart, these tools appear at the side. The first one is filters. So this is showing here all of the series, all of the weeks, they're all showing here. And then we've got these categories: food, petrol, clothes, total. Now, having this total in here isn't super helpful. We're not quite sure. We've got food and petrol. Why is this here as well? So we can just remove that and click apply. Now, the other way we could just not include it is just by not selecting it here when we highlighted the initial data before we created the chart, but we can do it afterwards as well. Now, if I go along to the chart styles, I'm getting a similar kind of thing that we got across the top here. And if I choose color, I'm getting a similar kind of thing we had over there. Now, this little plus sign is really useful because this is where we can start to think about adding or taking away things from this chart to make it a bit more readable and a bit more understandable. So the first thing I might want to do, because it's a bar column chart, I can turn on the axis titles. Then this helps me because I can see there's money there and I can see food, petrol, clothes, but it's not entirely clear what that is. So I can just add some axis titles, and you literally just have to click on them and then you can add your own descriptions. So this is the items that we spent the money on, and this axis title here is the amount spent. Okay, so straight away we're starting to see this chart's making more sense to us. Okay, lastly, we might want to think about data labels. So we can see here, not only can we see that we've spent some money on this, but we can see exactly how much we spent because we've got these labels on the top. Data tables, sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're not. So if it's not adding anything of any interest, if it's just making it cluttered and less clear, then don't use them. Error bars, again, is that helping? Not really, so don't use them. Grid lines can be quite useful. If we take them off, we can still understand what's going on, but this helps us to see, where the increments are. So we can see this is going up in £20. Now we've got a legend, and sometimes a legend is useful and sometimes it's not. So if the legend is just not helpful, then just take it off. Trend lines can be helpful, and sometimes they're just pointless. If you've got data over a long period of time, sometimes a trend line can help you see whether something's going up or down, or whether it spikes and then comes back down again. But on this particular graph, a trend line isn't really all that useful. So we can see it's a little bit squished in here and there, but all we have to do here is if we right click, we get the option to move that chart, and we can put it in its own sheet, and then it appears on its own tab on the bottom here. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense as to what's going on. We can see it better. It's not quite so squished. Now, anytime we can right click on any of these, and we can format data labels, we can format the data series, we can make changes. So if I wanted some of these, for example, to be a different color, I can just change the fill color or make it gradient or put borders and things like that. If I don't like the color scheme that Excel has already given me, and there's various things we can do, to change the gap width and so on. But it may be fine just as it is, in which case you now have a couple of options. You can use this as it is, just keep it in the spreadsheet, that's fine. Or you've got the option here to save that as a picture, so it becomes a static image, which you can then put straight into a presentation or a Word document, for example. Now, why would you want to do that? Because this chart live updates. So if I go back to the original data, this is where I got the information from. So if I go back here and spend £200 on tools on that week and go back to my chart, I can see it's all changed now because the data's live updating as I'm changing the information in the table. Okay, so if you do link this into something else, sometimes it creates a live link, or if you copy and paste it, sometimes it will create a live link. And if you then go back into the spreadsheet and change it, it will update it in the other document as well. So sometimes it's better to save it as a picture, so at least the data is frozen in place and it isn't going to change at a later date if you make changes to what's inside the table. Okay, that's it for charts.